Digimon Tamers is the third season of the Digimon anime, and it was the season that took a bit of a leap, being entirely disconnected from the seasons that came before it. It was a reimagining of the Digimon concept. It also took the darker, more mature side of Digimon storytelling to the next extreme. So, well over 20 years after the series dropped, I wanted to have a little look back at the brooding brilliance of this entry in the Digimon franchise. Spoiler warning as we dive in as well. So unlike Adventure and O2, which pretty much immediately throws the protagonists into the digital world, Tamers goes a different route, and starts off very much grounded in reality. We get a decent slice of life chunk of content in the opening episode. We start off by following the daily life of Takato, a young boy who loves Digimon, particularly the card game, which believe me got me so desperate for the TCG to become a popular thing, but it never really took off in the UK sadly. He plays the game with his friends, and spends a lot of his school time sketching his own Digimon designs in a little notebook and daydreaming about being a Digimon Tamer, which is about as relatable as you could get with a Digimon character. This is exactly what I did as a 10-year-old as well, and that's where this season differs from the others before it. Digimon is a popular media franchise in this universe. It's kind of like it takes place in our world, not the fictional Digimon one, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's ever confirmed if Digimon Adventure and O2 are a TV show in this universe, but it would make sense with everything else. That real-world first perspective heavily played into mine and probably all of our fantasies as kids, where Digimon is this fictional thing that suddenly turns into reality. We start off by following Takato as his drawing becomes a real Digimon, changing him from a Digimon fan into a Digimon Tamer. The way it happens is really cool as well. His little card scanner thing for the TCG turns into a Digivice and scans the drawings of his custom design, and creates a Digi-Egg out of it. And of course we get to know the other characters too, who each have their own wacky, oh my god Digimon have suddenly become real backstories. It's a tight group of main characters in Digimon Tamers. We're down to 3 here. Takato is our goggle-headed leader. He doesn't have the bravado of Tai or Davis. Instead, he's much more gentle and naive. And throughout the season, we see him grappling with these new responsibilities stemming from bringing Guilmon into the world, and maturing into someone who can handle the weight that comes with that. Sounds like it could be a metaphor for parenthood almost. Maybe it is, I don't know. Second up, we've got Rika, known as the Digimon Queen. She is an ultra-competitive Digimon trading card game player. She's ruthless and dismissive and cold towards anyone who tries to get close to her or make her open up about anything, even when it's her family or her Digimon. She views Digimon as nothing more than data. So we watch her arc as she learns to become a little more vulnerable and embrace friendship as a strength rather than a hindrance. Finally, Henry. Every Digimon protagonist group needs the philosophical thought leader, and here he is. Henry is a devout pacifist. He really hates fighting, which begs the question why he likes Digimon in the first place. And his story takes us through the gradual realization of just the harsh realities of survival. Sometimes you've got to fight. Also, his dad is a programmer tied to the origins of Digimon themselves, so that's an interesting extra spanner in the dynamics. 3 very solid protagonists, really contrasting backgrounds that make you wonder how the hell they're going to synergize as a team. But they all represent a different challenge within childhood, I think. There's the uncertainty, the angst, the blooming responsibilities, all of which have to be mitigated and consolidated to face the challenges ahead. Their partner Digimon are equally as intriguing, because rather than complement the personalities of their tamers, which is closer to what we've seen before this season, they instead represent qualities the tamers have yet to acquire. So Guilmon represents courage and optimism, Terriermon represents balance and realistic thinking, and Renamon represents empathy and compassion. Eventually. She's kind of power obsessed too for the first few episodes. So it's more of a contrast than a complement. I'm not saying that this is the first time it was done. You could argue for similar Tamer-Digimon relationships in the previous seasons as well, but it's most prevalent in this season, I think. Tamers shifts in a new direction with a couple of its mechanics too. A couple of main ones, but we'll talk about them as we go along. But by far my favourite that I want to highlight quickly is the card slashing mechanic of this season's Digivice, or Digimodify as it's known. Tamers can use real Digimon TCG cards to buff their Digimon up by slashing the card through their Digivice. Look, I was a big Yu-Gi-Oh player at this point too, so this was like two worlds meshing together for me. I was so there for this. I love the idea of being able to give temporary power-ups to your Digimon, like armor or a different kind of attack it can't usually use. I've always said that the Tamers concept would work so well in a video game. It would be so exciting. I just love this gimmick so much. This season of Digimon made me really want to play the TCG, but sadly it wasn't that prevalent in the UK. I remember having some cards, like a few booster packs worth, but never a lot. I was really let down by the back of the cards too, because in Digimon Tamers they look like this, and then in real life they looked like this. The version in Tamers just looks so much cooler. So let's break down the different arcs of this season. First up, it's the real world arc, I want to call it. This is where the season is deceptively light-hearted. It has that slice of life charm. There's a focus on the three Tamers' family lives, and some of the strained relationships going on there. When it comes to Digimon, the group are primarily concerned with Digimon that are bio-emerging, basically breaking through into the real world. They're hunting down these Digimon and defeating them, all while trying to juggle everyday life and keep Digimon a secret from their parents and their peers. Which, again, that's the fantasy we all had watching Digimon as kids, right? Regular school life during the day, and then moonlighting as a secret Digimon tamer hero at night. It plays into that so well in these early episodes, so I was hooked. Then we move into the Deva Invasion arc. So the Devas are the boss Digimon of this arc. 12 Digimon representing the 12 Chinese zodiac signs. And they're getting sent to the real world by their big boss, known as the Sovereign, to conquer the human world and also find Calamon, a teeny tiny little Digimon who holds the power of Digivolution inside of him. So very valuable and very dangerous in the wrong hands. The stakes rise quite sharply here, and this is where we start to see some of that personal character growth from our tamer protagonists. Rika starts to open up a bit and start seeing Digimon as partners instead of tools. Takato is forced to step up and handle the responsibility of controlling Guilmon's more raw and feral side. Henry grappling with his reluctance to fight when it's required more than ever. And we see that progress throughout these episodes. And then we also have Impmon. I haven't mentioned him yet. He's a bit of a wild card in the equation. He's ambling around in the real world. He's seemingly very against the idea of Digimon having tamers. But you can really see an envy bubbling up inside him in this arc, which will manifest itself in a greater way later down the line. This arc is the first real test for our protagonists. Skill-wise, emotionally, it's the first time it really gives off a life or death feel to the situation. Then we transition into the digital world arc. A lot happens in this arc, as the Tamers travel to the digital world to rescue Calamon, who's been kidnapped by one of the Devas. We have a few extras tagging along here, Kazu, Kenta and Jerry, who are all classmates of Takato's. Not Digimon Tamers at first, but they do find their own partners along the way. I love how the digital world in this season reflects the brooding tones of the story. It's very glitchy and surreal. It really caught my intrigue. So Impmon, who we just mentioned, basically sells himself to the Sovereign in return for power. He gets a fast track boost all the way to the mega level Beelzemon, and he becomes the main villain of this arc essentially, which produces perhaps the darkest couple of episodes I've ever seen from Digimon. Jerry's partner Leomon is killed by Beelzemon, absolutely shattering Jerry. She just completely shuts down. And it's the fact that it's just a senseless death as well. It wasn't like Angemon sacrificing himself in Digimon Adventure. This was a brutal, cold-hearted killing. And also Leomon isn't coming back, because Digimon can absorb each other's data in this season. That's a new mechanic that's thrown into the mix. We don't see any Digimon reincarnating in this season. In Tamers, death is final. So no reincarnating as a Digi-Egg. Leomon is part of Beelzemon now. Immediately after this, Takato is just filled with rage. He's just snapped, overwhelmed with grief and fury. He wants revenge. And in a scene that gives an essence of Skull Greymon, but way more intense, Guilmon is forcefully digivolved to Megidramon, who is just a terrifying abomination of a monster. It reinforces just how connected Digimon are to their partners. Their Digivolution paths are intrinsically connected to their tamer's mental state. Eventually, through realization and reconciliation, Guilmon and Takato unlock a new form of Digivolution, called Biomerging, which is a kind of fusion deal where the tamer is inside the Digimon. All three main tamers attain this form eventually, and it's a really cool new Mega level variant. But did they have to be naked? I always felt kind of awkward watching this whenever my parents were in the room. Ultimately, Beelzemon is spared. It's the whole killing the villain makes you just as bad as them trope, which annoys the hell out of a lot of people, myself included. Thank God for shows like Dragon Ball Z where the villains get blasted into oblivion. But this does set up one hell of a redemption arc later on, as Beelzemon realizes just how pointless the choices he's made were. He's not happy, he's not fulfilled, he's still as hollow and miserable as ever. Which leads us into the final chapter, the D-Reaper arc. Just when the Tamers think they've overcome the ultimate challenge, a rogue data purging program called the D-Reaper manifests itself in the real world. The issue here being that it has identified humanity as unnecessary information and begins erasing the real world. This is real sci-fi apocalypse type stuff. The D-Reaper engulfs entire blocks of Shinjuku with this red, sludgy substance known as chaos. And the gravity of it for me is that there is no front to this enemy. You can't put a face to it. You can't interact with it. It's just this existential threat running on autopilot. And that's scary as hell. More unsettling still, Jerry, still utterly broken by Leomon's death, falls under the D-Reaper's control, finding herself trapped inside the very heart of it. This is where Beelzemon's redemption arc comes in, as we find out that actually, he did have a partner once. He had two of them. He just abandoned them a while back out of pure stubbornness. And it's their unconditional love and support that allows Impmon to become Beelzemon again through natural means. And he then sets out on a mission to save Jerry from the D-Reaper. Perhaps the part of Tamers that had the biggest impact on me. There's one line where he's punching the hell out of the D-Reaper's shields, where he says, "I'm gonna get you out, Jerry! I'm at the last thing I freaking do!" And there's a genuine, powerful selflessness in that line for me that makes me well up every time I hear it. And that selflessness snaps Jerry out of the D-Reaper's mental grasp. It takes a huge combined effort from the Tamers and the creators of the original Digimon program to finally quell the D-Reaper. But it's at the high price of expelling all of the Digimon back to the digital world. Which isn't a new concept to finish off a season of the anime. Digimon technically don't belong in the real world, but it still breaks my heart every time I see it. It's a bittersweet ending. There's a real melancholy in the quiet slice of life scenes at the end too. After all they went through, everything just goes back to normal, as if the Digimon had never existed. And there's a metaphor in there somewhere. I'm just not entirely made up in my mind about what it is. But I could take a stab and say it's about dealing with loss, dealing with the reality that even the strongest bonds don't last forever, that sometimes they can't, even if both parties want them to. The final scene where Takato finds a portal to the digital world does ensure that we end on a happy-ish note though. We're reassured that the Tamers and their Digimon will in fact see each other again. Digimon Tamers was the season of the anime that dared to pose the question, what if Digimon were real? What could that actually look like? And what disastrous, world-threatening implications could that incur? The dark storytelling and the psychological depth really does make it stand out from the pack. The themes of loss and grief and trauma are taken to a borderline overwhelming level, especially towards the mind-bending finale. And we watched this as kids. It messes me up for a couple of days afterwards watching it as an adult, but it's so good and continues to have a lasting impact to this day. What did you guys think of it though? I want to hear any thoughts or memories or anecdotes you have on Digimon Tamers. This season has so much to talk about. This video didn't even cover half of it, to be fair. Maybe I'll go more in depth with certain aspects of it in the future. For now, I just wanted to have a little natter after watching through this season again. Would you believe that I have never watched a Digimon series after this? This is where I stopped. I probably will watch them at some point, but I've watched a lot of Digimon over the last few weeks. I need a little break first, I think. Thanks so much for watching. Please do drop a like on the video before you go, it's a huge help. Subscribe for more Digimon videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.